What up? What up? What up? What's happening? We are live. We are rolling, and let's get things started because I think we are good to go on all the platforms, and just jumping in this evening to be able to get some good information out to you. And if you are just joining in, then let's get it. Let's go. So this is going to be an Ask Me Anything session and also a live workshop. So I'm expanding the operations and ready to get this word out to you in lots of different forms and formats. So we're on a couple of different platforms, but we want to make sure that you get the information that you need to be able to push your life forward, to be able to push your future forward. I want to explain who I am. I'm Kyle Alexander, and I have obtained over $500,000 in business credit over the past 3 or 4 years between my wife and myself, leveraging the same exact strategies, the same exact blueprint that I'm going to share with you this evening. And it's a formula that you can access, which is why that I am passionate about sharing it, because I learned about it as I was getting into the entrepreneurial space, getting into real estate, and I didn't know about business credit at all when I started, and then I heard about the term, I heard about what it was, and then I just started digging into it, digging in as a client, figuring out, okay, what do I do to access this, and just kind of just dug in further, and by the time all was said and done, and leveraging some strategies of using multiple LLCs and using spouse and things like that, we were able to get over 250,000 each in business credit, and was largely at 0% interest for 12 months. And we're able to use that for all sorts of things, getting into mentorships, getting into real estate, and getting in the right rooms, and just quite a journey to be able to do that and have all this activity on the business side, and not necessarily touching our personal credit or touching our personal savings right at the time. So this was critical because the I can explain this because I have business credit balances right now, through after doing a lot of different things and investments. Some things went right, some things went wrong, and there's balances on the business credit side. However, the last time I checked, like my personal credit score is like literally 850, 847. Same with my wife, like 840, something like that. So we've been able to navigate this, and it's just a very powerful thing to be able to push forward in the business arena and not necessarily have to worry about that impact on the personal side. So this is exactly what I want to share with you tonight. If you have any questions, is there anything that is holding you back from feeling like you're ready for funding, or feeling like, okay, is this a real thing? Like, what can I do to access 100K, 150K, 200 or 500, like you're saying, Kyle, 50K, like for my business at 0% interest. And beyond that, it's the 0% interest, but it's also, okay, how do you set yourself up for, like, am I equipped to be able to get an SBA loan or a term loan or a equipment financing? There's all sorts of things that you can access. So I want to just break down all of the range of everything that you can do, and exactly what you're going to need to be set up for that, right? So if you're just joining in, make sure you ask your questions, put your questions in the chat, and I'll be answering questions live. Like I said, anything you got, I will answer to the best of my ability. But I want you to have this information so that you can push yourself forward, push your family forward, achieve your goals and things like that. Because it's a fast way to be able to get into things. Because I'm asking this question: is how long does it take to save up $100,000? How long does it take to save up 80,000, 50,000, 150,000, 300,000, right? So I don't care how much beans and rice that you eat, what kind of plan you got together. It's going to take a lot to do that sort of thing. And what we're talking about is, if you're set up the right way, some of you watching me right now might be set up potentially to be able to access $100,000, 150,000 in the next 30 days, right? And my last client, from the time that she books a call with the team to the time that she had 95,000 available to her to be able to use for her real estate business, was 22 days. So that literally could be you right now, 22 days from now. And you're saying, like, I didn't know that I could access this, and it literally can be that fast. Now, that for everyone? Some people might need a couple of moves, like just a move here, a move there, and you might be another 30 days away. You might be another 45 days away. Some people, your credit profile might not be like up to par, and we're going to talk about exactly what you need. But no worries. A lot of our clients, we help people with that as well, as far as like being able to optimize their credit, to fix it and to repair it to be set up exactly for funding. So we do that as well. And a lot of our clients are seeing results in the first 90 days, right? So imagine 90 days from now, like today is November 16, and imagine in mid-February, you went through the holidays and now it's like, okay, now I'm ready to go, ready to launch for 2026. And I've got 100,000 that I can get access to. I've got 150,000, 120,000. So this is really, really powerful stuff that you need to be aware of. And again, this is a formula, right? And I can't stress this enough. It's a formula that once you put these things together, once you have this set up, then you can access these funds, right? So the fastest thing I can tell you to do is to, hey, what's up? What's up, Mason? Good evening. Good evening. The fastest thing I can tell you to do is you're going to want to go to get a free consultation call for yourself, right? And this is fundingmyfuture.net. You can hit the link in my bio, DM me, message me, whatever you want to do. But fundingmyfuture.net, and you're going to book a free consultation call. And the reason that these are valuable is because everybody's situation is different, right? So your specific makeup, your state that you're in, your goals, like how much you want, like which banks you bank with, like your credit profile, all that stuff matters, and all that stuff is taken into account when it comes to like what funding path is best for you. And again, this could be the 0% interest. You might be set up for an SBA loan because you're ready to take down a business, that's going to cash flow 20,000 a month, and you need access to this or that. So thankfully we can help with it across the board. So tonight I want to go through the exact things that you need to be best set up to access that 100K, 150K. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to just be going straight through the process, straight through the requirements. And if you have any questions about how I've leveraged this, or like you have a myth that's in your head, like, okay, does this really work? Or does it work for this type of business? Or what if I'm just starting out? Or what if, whatever question that you have, I have paid a lot of money to be able to access this info, right? Over the past years, and thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to get into the right rooms. Like I said, I started as a client. So I from the client side, I understand how like the companies work and the different models that are out there. So it just helps me to be able to share with you now, like, okay, these are the ways that you can get into it, and all the different things that you can do to set yourself up for success, right? And that's why I want to share with you now, so that you can be ahead of the game, further along than I was. I want you to be ahead, right? So and be equipped to be able to fulfill your purpose, right? And to me, that starts with a level of commitment, but also like a financial freedom. A lot of us have things that we might want to do or dig into, but like the finances are really kind of burying us down. And that's because we don't have access to the mentorship or the skills or the education or the tools that we need. And this business funding can be a significant fast track to be able to get in that direction, to say, okay, I have exactly what I need to be able to move forward. And let me just give a quick case in point before I really dig in and get started. But a quick case in point is, okay, you can access a mentor, and a mentor that knows like the exact blueprint of how to do the thing that you want to do. They've been there, they've done that. They know the exact steps, right? And these might be some high profile people that you see online, or different people that just have access to different networks and strategies. You can access pretty much anyone in the world for somewhere between $3,000 and $50,000, right? Pretty much anybody like has a high ticket program or some inner circle or some mastermind that you can access them directly. You can get their cell phone number probably. You know what I mean? And what is it going to take to be able to get that? Now, if you save that up, again, it might take a while, but if you have that in business credit, like let's say you did a funding round and now you have $100,000, $150,000, or if you leverage a spouse or a business partner with the strategy that I can tell you about, now you've got, $300,000 to be able to use for different things. And you're telling me that you can pay somebody potentially, now you have the room to pay somebody $25,000, and they feel super confident that they can show you how to make $100,000 a month. You know what I mean? Or they can show you how to make 50,000, or they can show you how to get a property that's worth $1 million, or 10 million or something like that. So now this opens the door and opens the gateway for you to be able to get into this space. And again, not having to touch your personal credit and your personal savings, right? It's a big thing. So let's dive into it. Again, if you have questions, put your questions in the chat. I'm going to go straight for it. And hopefully this is valuable for you. Make sure you share this with somebody. And we're going to keep it pushing, right? So first off, Now, what do you need in your personal credit profile to be able to access this type of funding, right? So, first off, is it's like your credit score, but your credit score is just an indication of like a starting point of what you need, right? And what do I mean by that? Is let's say you have like, okay, a 700 plus credit score is what you see advertised a lot. Like if you have this score, then you can move forward with funding and stuff like that. But there are people who have a 700, who have a 750, who are getting denied, right? Why is that? It's because the profile is not structured properly. The profile isn't set up the right way to be able to get access to the funding, right? So I'm going to break down exactly what you need in your profile, not just your personal credit score, but let's look at the profile, right? So first, I'm going to go straight through them, and then I'm going to loop back to go through some more detail. And if there's any questions, again, put your questions in the chat. Please don't hold back. So first off, is your personal credit cards, right, need to be of a certain amount, and you need to have a certain number of them for a certain length of time, right? Now, what is that? You need at least, at bare minimum, if you have two credit cards that have at least $3,000 limit or higher, then that's the bare minimum you can kind of squeeze in the door, right? Now, ideally, we're going up from there. So ideally, you have at least two credit cards that are at least $10,000 in limit. And the higher the better for your credit card limits to be able to access. Now, why is this important? Is because this is almost like for my people in real estate that understand like comps. So if I sell a real estate property, or I do a flip for real estate, right? And I want to sell this property, and say I want to sell this property for $300,000, right? I fix it up, I know what it's worth, etc. But the properties that are nearby in the area have only sold for 100,000, 110,000, 115,000. The bank is not going to give me 300,000 just because I want it, just because the property, I feel like it deserves it. They're going to go based on the market and what actually exists, like tangibly, right? So when they're looking at your personal credit, they're using these comps to know, okay, well, how much we're going to give you is based on how much you currently have. And then the good thing about business credit is it's usually a multiplier, right? It's a multiplier on what you have on the personal credit side. So it's always going to be more, but you have to have that good starting point in order to multiply into the amount that you want. Right? Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome. Thanks for joining in. So what is that multiplier, right? So again, if you have a $500 credit card on the personal side from Capital One or something like that, and that's your biggest credit card, you had it for only a few months, they're not going to give you a $20,000 business credit card. They're not going to give you a $50,000 business credit card. Right. So you need to have comps that are comparable to these other things that you're going to get that show that you've handled a lot of money. Right. So this is why, again, on the personal side, if you've got credit cards that are at least 10,000, now you're in a really sweet spot. Now pay attention to this. If you're taking notes, note this down. Right. Again, this is information that I have paid for readily and handsomely. Right. So your credit limits, if your credit limit overall is between $30,000, all your cards put together, and $100,000, that's actually the sweet spot to be in, to be able to get the max amount of funding, right? So if you have that, if you're watching me now, you say, Kyle, I have that right now. That's the first leg in the door. Like you are like literally on your way. I would say 30 to 45 days, 60 days, like more than likely you're probably going to do it, right? Now, next. So what else do we need to look at? Let's look at the utilization, right? This is a big one. So your utilization needs to be under 30% at the bare minimum, right? At the ideal, we're under 10% for our utilization. Okay. So now how does this impact things? Is because your credit score is based on payment history, utilization. Those are the biggest chunks, right? The amount that you're using. And what is the difference between when I talk about bare minimum versus the ideal? Now, in the business credit world, the range of what you can get access to varies greatly, right? So when you look at the utilization and we say, okay, I've got a 30% utilization, I just squeezed in, right? Sometimes these approvals can be, the difference might be like, maybe I got a $3,000 card approval or $8,000 versus 40,000 versus 50,000 versus 25,000, even versus 15,000. So that difference can be pretty drastic, where it's like, hey, $3,000 is cool, $5,000 is great, right? Like you can do a lot with it if you play your cards right. You know what I mean? Pun intended. You can do a lot with it. Cool. But it's different when you walk out with a $40,000 card or $35,000 card or 20 or a 15, and then you start stacking those up. So let me just explain briefly if you're not familiar with how the business credit stacking system works, right? So what we're doing is we're applying to different business credit cards at different banks and different credit unions, and each of those is giving us a certain amount of credit limit, right? So now we stack that back to back to back, and we're getting more and more of these cards, right? Detro, what's up? What's up? Good evening. Good evening. So we're getting more and more of these cards, right? And again, if you're not familiar already, this is how it works: is every time you get one of these cards, the only way that this impacts your personal credit in the beginning is you get a hard inquiry pulled on your personal credit, right? Because they want to know who's running it, they want to know who's behind it, right? You get that hard inquiry pulled. But here's the kicker: is because this is not tied to an open account on your personal credit report. These business credit cards do not show up as accounts, and they don't show up on your utilization, right? So because it doesn't show up there, you technically and legally have the right in the Federal Credit Reporting Act to be able to remove those inquiries from your credit report, right? Now, why does that matter? Because if I go to 6 banks, right, on the business credit side, and I get 6 hard inquiries pulled, 2 on Experian, 2 on Equifax, 2 on TransUnion, right? Now I've got these there. Now I can go back and wipe off all those inquiries. Now I've got 0 on my report. And when I go to the next bank or credit union on the business credit side, now they see a clean slate. And now I'm ready to rinse and repeat, and I can go for more funding, right? So this is how people are able to stack back to back, 3 months at a time, 6 months at a time, 100K at a time, 150K at a time, 200 at a time. And then eventually you can pretty much take it as far as you want to go. And again, depending on what your execution strategy is, you can take that as far as you want to go, right? So again, so utilization. Now, what if, I'm going to give you a quick hack. I want you to write this down, right? If you are seeing this and you are getting any value from this at all, make sure you hit the like button, share this with somebody, let somebody know that this information is being shared. Like I said, it's powerful stuff, and it is literally a formula, and I'm literally giving you the exact formula right now. So please hit the like button. It's a very simple thing you can do that can help, that can let the algorithm know, like, hey, this is something that needs to get out. This is powerful information, so I appreciate your help in helping everybody, because that is something I am concerned about, is I want everybody to be able to level up, everybody be able to push forward and move their family forward, move other people forward. So it's like the rising tide lifts all boats. That's like my stance. You know what I'm saying? So please share this with somebody. I appreciate you guys for the likes and for the shares. So let's keep going. So here's the hack, right? What if your utilization is high, and let's say you don't have any other problems with your credit, like you never really had late payments, like no other issues. It's just my utilization, right? And why? Probably because either I've been doing business or doing things and I've been charging my personal cards, or I've just been lifing and using my cards and they got high balances, they got interest racking up, all this different stuff, right? Now, if that's the only thing, here's what you can do, right? And this is what a lot of people don't know, is that, okay, my credit score is based on my revolving credit amounts, right? And the balances that are on my credit cards. It's not based on any balances that are on installment products or installment loans. And what is that? This is like something where I have a fixed payment, like an auto loan. Like you get the auto loan, your payment is $350 a month, right? And it just stays the same. It doesn't fluctuate with interest rates, or you don't add more to it. You don't subtract any from it. It's a consistent thing. So here's the thing you can do, right? I can take my personal utilization balance. Let's say I have $10,000, right, in my balances, and I'm using up 80% of my utilization. Let's say I have $10,000 balance. I can take that and I can get a personal loan. Write this down. I can get a personal loan for $10,000, right? And then pay off the credit cards on my personal side. Now, what happens when I do that? Here's the first thing that happens. That's the first bonus, even if you didn't do anything else. I used that personal loan, the 10,000. I paid off the credit cards. I didn't change any debt. I didn't pay anything down. It's just the same debt as moved over. But what happens is my credit score on that personal side is going to shoot up because my utilization is going to drop down, right? Credit score shoots up. Detroit, this is a big point. So you said, question said, I thought that it would show up in my credit utilization. All right, now this is a big point. Your personal loan, right, or debt consolidation loan, or whatever the case, wherever you can get it from, does not show up as your personal credit, your revolving utilization, right? So that calculation on your credit score does not show up that way, right? So let's keep going, right? So here's what happens first. We just transfer that over, right? We transferred it over. Now the debt is in the personal loan. My credit score shoots up. And at the very least, now typically these personal loans, the interest rate is going to be lower than what you had on the credit cards, right? So you'd be paying probably less than what you are. Now my credit score shoots up. Now, if you stop there, great. But here's the next one. Here's the next level is if I am ready now, if that was the only thing holding me back from business credit and business funding, then now I'm ready to get funding. So what if I get, okay, I link up with Kyle and the team and I get 100K or 120K or 150K in business credit at 0% interest. Now you can effectively move that balance through various ways over to the business side, and now it's under 0%. So now we went from credit card balances with probably 22 if you're lucky, 20% if you're lucky, up to 30% interest. And now that shifted over to probably a 15 to 18% interest on the personal loan. And then now within the next 30 days, if everything else lines up that I'm about to tell you the blueprint of tonight, now in the next 30 days, I'm able to get 150K or 120K or 80K in business credit. And now I shift that over to 0%. So now I'm on 0% interest, right? Again, I haven't paid anything down necessarily. Now I'm on 0% interest. And now I can use the rest of my business credit to say, okay, what am I going to do to execute on this to be able to make more money? Right? Because this is what all this comes down to. If you don't have a plan or a mentor lined up or somebody to say, okay, what am I going to do with this money? You know what I mean? Because it's not just you get the money and you need to use it to make money and to pay it back. Once you do that, then everybody wins. But again, this is the shortcut, like I said, because once you have those funds, you can breathe a little easier and you can plan more strategically to say, okay, who is the person that I need to tap into that can tell me the exact thing that I need to do, that can give me the exact network, the exact contacts? You know what I mean? Like, who is it that I need to tap in with and how much do they charge? Is it 10,000? Is it 25,000? Is it 20,000? And then the next question you have to ask is, am I ready to do the work? Do I have the personal development, the mindset, the commitment to be able to actually do what they say, right? That's a whole nother conversation, but I'm telling you exactly what you would need to do to be able to get set up. And some of you are literally sitting on the 100K, you're sitting on 150K, you're sitting on it because you think that your credit score is low and you can't qualify, but it's literally just the utilization. And that one little play could shift you over, right? So let's go back. I'm going to go back to, let's see if we had some questions and comments. I'm just going to make sure we didn't miss anything, right? So you said that, yeah, that's the only problem is the credit utilization. Otherwise, you'd have an 800. Look, yeah, you're exactly in place, right? Exactly in place. And I would suggest that you book a call with the team. If you haven't already, book a call with the team to be able to execute that play properly for your exact setup in your situation and the timing. Let's make sure there's nothing else in your credit that's showing up or nothing else that needs to be added. Now, one quick point I have to share is there's a difference between credit repair and credit optimization, right? Because there's a lot of people that can repair or fix credit where they're saying, okay, we can remove things from your credit report, right? That's fine. But there's only a certain amount of people that know exactly what needs to go into your credit report when it's time to get the max amount of funding from the banks, right? So you need to make sure that you're working with people that at least know that whole scope so that you can be as set up as possible. And that's what I want you to do is go to fundingmyfuture.net, hit the link in my bio, DM me, whatever it is you got to do, right? So, but you need to book a free consultation call so that you can get that mapped out, because again, that might be, and that personal loan, sometimes it only takes 48 hours. You know what I mean? So you could do that. You could be paying it down. And then it's just a matter of waiting once you've paid it down for those balances to report on your credit report. So that could be 10 days from now, could be 20, could be 30 days from now, if your dates just pass. And then once those things report at that low utilization, your credit score shoots up. And now your profile might be ready for funding if you check the rest of these boxes that we're about to talk about tonight, right? So again, if this is valuable for you at all in any way, make sure you make sure you share this with somebody. And I appreciate you for tapping in, right? So yep. So you were saying you're about to use business credit to fix that? Yeah. So yeah, you don't have to use business credit to fix your utilization, right? You could jump there, but again, you're probably not going to qualify in the same way. Or if you do qualify, you might qualify for lower limits, right? So this is the thing that I'm talking about. When we talk about the optimum profile, that opens up the highest limits possible. And when you're working with people that know the exact strategies, like each bank is going to be different. Some banks, you have the best bet by getting a banking relationship manager. It's like a person that's going to push the thing through your application and push it through in the right way, and that's going to get you the max funding. There's some banks you don't need to do that at all. It's like, okay, I need to apply online in this specific way, and that's going to give me the best possible angle. So it takes a lot to understand what each one wants, and then each one is also changing how they do things pretty much every day. Because again, as we know, in the government, in the country, in the world, things are topsy turvy and changing, and the banks shift things, right? They change their underwriting standards, they change all sorts of stuff. So you need to be able to know, like, be on top of that. And again, it just takes time. This is why we help people with these consultations, so we can advise you on, okay, this is like what is working right now and what you need to implement, right? So yep, I'm definitely glad you jumped on the live here. And again, I suggest you go to fundingmyfuture.net. You're going to click the little button on there, and it's going to take like 90 seconds for you to fill out the little form, get a call booked, and then get on that consultation. And either that consultation, right, you're going to be connected with the team that I have. You're going to be connected with the team, and that consultation is either going to tell you, okay, there's something in your credit that needs updating or fixing or changing, and we're talking about the next steps with your credit. Or we're going to say, we verify, okay, your credit is solid, you're ready to go. Now we just need to make sure that you're ready for funding, and let's move forward in that way. And they'll tell you all the details, right? So again, that is a game changer for a lot of people. That again, because your utilization, it's like 30%, and your payment history is like 35%. So this is like almost like 70% of your score. And again, the score ranges, right? The score ranges from 300 to 850. So if you're talking about 30%, this is like 200 points for each of those. So again, if your utilization is messed up and that's the only thing you have, you could have a 500 something or a 600 something, you know what I mean? And not know, like, I'm one move away from being an 800, right? Like you never know that. So and thank you for the gift and the yep, and thanks for the support and the shares. Definitely appreciate it. So let's keep going. Let's keep going, right? So and again, like I said, I paid money for this information, so I hope that you are soaking it up, taking the notes, and ready to take some action. Okay. So we talked about utilization. We talked about the credit cards. Those are like probably one of the biggest things, right? Now, but next is your inquiries need to be at least 2 to 5. And I would say probably 2 to 3 is like the max per bureau before you start, right? Now, here's the extra hack. Please write this down. Is if the inquiry is older than 6 months, it doesn't have as much impact. So ideally, we have 0 inquiries on there. Most people know that after 2 years, your inquiries are going to fall off anyway, right? But after 6 months, if it's older than 6 months, you can still kind of squeeze by. It doesn't have as much impact when you're doing these applications, right? But keep in mind what I told you is, if this is not connected to an open account on your personal credit, then you technically have the right to request or to remove the inquiry from your personal report. So this is a part of the thing. If you could look at your report now, or the team can look at it. But when you look at it and say, okay, this is the amount of inquiries that I have, and you compare that to the amount of things that are actually showing up on your credit report. So God forbid that you did a auto loan at one of these car dealerships, and they ran your credit like 300 times, and you have, like, some of the people have like 50 inquiries, and because they just ran it, right? And you didn't even get the car, or you got the car from a different lender or something like that. You can go through and take all those inquiries off, right? There are ways to do it. And we're able to share with you the methods for you to do it yourself, or you can work with the team and say, you guys handle it. And if you want to save the time and things like that, right? So let's keep going. So inquiries, right? And again, the inquiries are important because the more that you have, the more uneasy the banks get. And again, as far as the funding sequence goes, which is why, again, it's important. You can learn all this stuff online and things like that. But when you're working with somebody, you have the most up-to-date information about which things that banks are looking for now, today, 2025, November. You know what I mean? Like, what are the banks looking for? So some banks care about how many inquiries you have. Some banks want to just see like nothing at all. Like they don't want any competition. Other banks is like, hey, you've been doing stuff. We still want to work with you, right? So it helps to know the order, because if you do it out of sequence, it can kind of mess things up. All right, so let's look at this question. So Phil, good evening. So you said I have an 812 credit score with 150K in personal limits, 3% used. I need business funding. Phil, you need to be on the call ASAP. I would just say jump off of here, like hit the link in my bio, or go to fundingmyfuture.net, or if you're on it, have a computer or something nearby, type it in now. You get on the consultation call. It takes 90 seconds to fill out the little form. Get on the consultation call and see what your next steps are. They're just hands down. That's what you need to be. And that's what I said. Some of you watching here are literally sitting on 100K. You're sitting on 150K. You're sitting on, and again, if you leverage the strategy with a business partner, with a spouse, or you have multiple LLCs, or different ways to go about it, but you could double up and triple up that amount, right? If you, and again, the age of your LLC and all that different stuff, there's different things that you can do. But even if you don't have an LLC, if you have that type of profile that Phil just mentioned, and you say, hey, Kyle, I got what you're saying. You need to be on the call like ASAP, right? Because again, my last client that went through, from the time that she booked the call to the time that she had 95K available in business credit, was 22 days, right? And it was only 95K because she said, hey, this is as much as I need right now. I'm solid. I'm ready to go execute and do her real estate stuff that she was doing, right? So that's like literally you. So jump on it. I'm glad you're here this evening for me to explain to you how much power that you're sitting on right now, right? So and thanks for the gift, Committee Boys Racing. Thanks for the gift. Appreciate you guys. So let's keep it rolling. All right. So we talked about the inquiries. So next is the number of accounts. So you need at least 7 to 10 primary accounts reporting on your credit file. Now, what are primary accounts? These are accounts that are in your name, right? Accounts in your name. And this is all accounts. It's not just credit cards, all accounts. So we already talked about you need at least 2 credit cards. Ideally, you have more than that. But this is all your accounts. So your mortgages, auto loans, student loans, store cards, credit cards, all those need to be at least 7 to 10 overall, right? So once you have that, now that communicates to the banks that you can handle a different range of types of funding, and you can manage it well, right? So again, this communicates strength and stability and something like they want to lend to, right? So Jeffrey, thanks for the badge. Appreciate you, and good to see you again. All right, so let's go on to the average age of credit. All right, so this is the next thing. So your average age, and you can pull this up on your credit monitoring, even if you have a Credit Karma or My FICO or My Free Score Now or whatever it is, you should be able to look up an aggregate of your credit age, right? So your credit age is going to be, if it's plus 4 years or more. Again, I hope you guys are writing these points down, because once you get to the end of this, I'm going to explain to you how powerful this is. But once you get to the end of this, you'll be able to know for yourself or for other people, like this is exactly what you need. And once you have that it's a formula. When you have that, then you can get access to this one way or another. Even if one bank changes their stuff up tomorrow, if you act now, the way things are now, you can get access. I'm telling you, 100K, 150K, you know what I mean? 80K. Because I'm seeing like our clients are doing this like on the regular, just with putting a few pieces together, right? So your average age of credit needs to be 4+ years. Now, what if say, Kyle, I have most of this stuff, but maybe my age isn't up to par, right? If you got 2 years or more, you can kind of squeeze in the door. But again, when we talked about squeezing in the door, that's the difference sometimes between a lower approval and a much higher approval that can make a lot of difference depending on the type of business that you're doing. Some of you say, hey, if I got $3,000 or 10,000 or 20, I would be set. You know what I mean? Like I could do this, and that, make some moves. I'd be good to go. Some of you are like, Kyle, if I had 120K, I could really do some damage there. I could really scale. I could really access, the things that I need to, so you just want to be mindful of like, what is the scale that you're actually looking for? Because you might be able to stumble into it, or you might just benefit a lot from being able to, again, to have a team of people to go in for you and to be able to get the funding alongside you, and you can learn and be educated at the same time. And that's another benefit of working with our team is it's not just like a one and done where you're just, getting it and then you're just kind of kicked out, which is like a lot of programs. Like I said, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot of these and on the client side, but we're working with people to educate as well. So you're learning the process. Again, if you want to, some people are so busy that it's like, please just take care of it for me. Just get, deliver the money and I'll be good. But other people, it's like, I want to learn how to do this so I can either continue to do it for myself or I can maybe tell other people about it, whatever. But we're like educating at the same time. So it's like a consultation relationship that lasts longer than just the initial, right? So again, so your average age of credit. Now, here's the other thing. Please write this down. We talked about primary accounts in your name. That's what matters most, right? And again, if you are tapped in here, I appreciate you. We're here. You're growing yourself. It's a Sunday night where I am. I don't know what time zone you're. Let me know where you guys are tapping in from. What city are you in? What country are you in? If you're out of country, let me know where you're tapping in from. But I appreciate you for pushing yourself forward. You know what I mean? Because that's the type of people that I want to be around. People that are like, I want to engage my mind. I want to learn, new things, and I want to level up and level up quickly. You know what I mean? So that my family can be better, so that other people can be better, so I can deliver my value to the world. So we got Texas and Texas. All right, Texas is definitely in the house. What's up? What's up? All right, so let's continue on that, right? So here's the thing: is if I want to impact my utilization or my average age of credit, there's something that you can do, and it's adding authorized user trade lines to your report, right? Or that's somebody else with a good credit card with good credit history, right? That is adding you to their credit card as an authorized user, right? Now, a lot of people will talk about this and say, okay, you just get these trade lines and you're good to go for everything. That's not the case, because the banks want to see your primary accounts, and the accounts in your name. Those credit cards I mentioned need to be in your name, and you need to have those for at least a year, you know what I mean, for you to be able to qualify for this type of thing. But any of those other credit cards that you use, or that if somebody adds you to their credit card, guess what gets reported and it gets factored in for business credit is your utilization and your average age, right? Yeah, so you said, Ditchell said, not Cal. Yeah, NorCal. I think I caught you the first time. So Cali's in the house. I'm from Southern California originally. I'm in Maryland now. So partially neighbors. All right. So let's talk about the average age of credit. When you get the authorized user trade line, that can add history, age, and it can change your utilization. So let me just quick example, right? So if I have, let's just say if I have, oh yeah, Ken Brennan, what's up? Maryland. Yep. We are neighbors for sure. Right. Let me know. I won't put you out there. Maybe I'll DM you and ask you which part of Maryland that you're in, but we might be close by. So, but right. So your average age and your history and your utilization can be impacted. So let's give a quick example. Let's say I have $10,000 in my credit card limit, just a rough example, right? And I add, so now that's the overall amount that I have. Somebody adds me to their card and they have a $20,000 card, right? And that card has been open for 20 years. So I have an average of all of my accounts and their ages, but I need to add in another account. If you know how to do the math of the averaging, and there's calculators you can use to do this, I can send you one or point you to a couple. But now once I add that 20 years and that other card, now that's going to change my average age overall, right? So if I need my average age to be above a certain amount, and why would I need my average age to be above a certain amount? Well, because there's computers that are doing these initial approvals or these initial checks on your profile before they push you through to the next stage of funding or to the underwriter or whatever happens. So you get put in a certain bucket when your utilization is at a certain point, or when your average age is at a certain point. So if it just sees and it doesn't, again, for those factors, it doesn't care where the sources come from. It's just looking at what's the average age of your overall. So if your average age is, again, above 4 years, above 5 years, it puts you in a certain category, right? Just automatically. If your average age is below 2 years, it puts you in a category automatically. So sometimes right before funding, adding these authorized user trade lines can help to bump you over the edge to be able to get you the max approvals, right? And this is a really key nugget. Now, if you don't have, the easiest way to do it is say have a family member, Uncle Jack, and he's got a credit card that he never really uses, is 30 years old, and it's got a $20,000 limit, and he can just add me tomorrow, right? And if that bank, there are certain banks that report and don't report. So that's the thing you need to know. But if that bank reports their authorized users to all the bureaus, he could add me and I'll be solid, right? Now, a lot of us might not have Uncle Jack, in the back pocket, right? So what do you do then? Is you can actually purchase these authorized user trade lines from different people who sell them for that purpose. They sell different slots on their trade lines, and this is if you're paying attention, this is something that you can do as well, right? If you have these cards, if you do it right and you learn the process, but there are people that would be willing to purchase slots on your card. Say anywhere, if you're doing it as an affiliate, you get anywhere from $50 to $200-$300, $400. If you're doing it directly, people pay $800, $1,000, $1,200 for these trade lines. Because again, what's the value of it? If I can get that and be able to boost myself, and now I can get access to 100K in funding, then that can be worth it. I can get access to 150K, that can be worth it. So there's a little side thing. I haven't shared that on the lives, but that is something that you can do to be able to leverage what you have to be able to get additional income, right? And again, you have to know what you're doing, because things can get tricky with that. Not that anyone's like going to be using your card and stuff like that, because typically you are giving that authorized user, and then the card gets shipped. Like when I do it, it gets shipped directly to me. You know what I mean? But there are issues that can come up, like with the person's profile or something, or if they have some shady history, and now like you're kind of linked up with them. So there's some things you can do to kind of check that out, right? But if you're purchasing the trade line, or if you are like I said, if you have a family member or something like that, and you're the one that's getting the benefit, then you can definitely do it to get over that hump, right? So we talked about this. So these are the main things, and there's one more. So we talked about the number of credit cards that you have, the limits, and your overall limits, right? Your utilization. Let me give you one more tip about utilization. Please write this down. The utilization needs to be, like we said, under 30%, right? And ideally under 10%. And there's two categories. One is your overall utilization across all your cards. Two is the utilization on each individual card, right? So each individual card ideally would be below 30% or below 10%, right? Again, looking at that range. So if you don't have that, then sometimes you can do some shifts or some balance transfers, or like we talked about, the super hack is if you can get a personal loan or some sort of installment, or like a HELOC that you can shift that balance over to, right? And now you're good to go. The credit score jumps up. We talked about that, right? So now next is the number of inquiries, right? Maximum is 3, like 2 to 5, maximum 3. Ideally, we have 0, right? And again, in the last 6 months, if you've got any that are older than 6 months, you can kind of squeeze by because it has less of an impact, right? At least 7 to 10 primary accounts reporting on your credit file, right? At least 4 years of average age on your credit, squeeze by with 2. Now, the next is no negatives, right? So that means no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. Clean, clean, clean. That is the ideal, right? What are the caveats? One caveat that I'll tell you that you can kind of squeeze by with, maybe. If your late payment is older than 2 years, it starts to have less impact, right? And let me give you a real world example of this, because some people will say, hey, to just position ourselves best, we need to make sure everything is just clean. So we're going to just, don't even worry about trying to move forward if it's not totally clean. Now, however, I had a client who had some late payments on some student loans, but it was like from 3-5 years ago, right? And that same client we went through, and at the time, the way things were, we were able to get $75,000 from one bank for her with that profile, right? So again, things change, times change. However, there are some nuances to this, and this is why you need to know what is the latest information. Again, because this stuff changes quickly. So you might be studying this stuff on YouTube and different places. And even if it's somebody like a reputable source and someone's sharing some information, but that information is from like 3 months ago or a year ago or something like that, it could be outdated. You know what I mean? So you want to know like what is the latest, and the best thing you can do for that, like I said, is book a free consultation call. Go to fundingmyfuture.net, hit the link in my bio, DM me, whatever you got to do. It takes just a few seconds to fill out that form and get a call booked, right? So you can know like, hey, what is the next step for me? So let me see. Monet, is that you? Monet Moncherie, let me know if I got that right. For business or personal credit. So we're talking about being able to get business credit, right? And let me clarify what you mean by that, Monet, and I will answer that more directly. Okay. As far as like, um, so we're qualifying for business credit, and I'm talking about your personal credit factors that need to be in place in order to set you up for getting the business credit. That's what we're talking about. So we're kind of talking about both, right? So again, feel free to ask a clarifying question, and I'll respond, right? And thanks for the badge, right? So everything that I'm talking about that I just shared is your personal credit. So we talked about the number of cards you need to have, the limits, right? The utilization of those cards, your inquiries across your report, that you need to have at least 7 to 10 accounts on your personal credit report, your average age in your personal credit report, and then no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy, right? If you have that, you are literally sitting on 100K, sitting on 150K, right? Now, let me break down. If you do have that, if that's you, I want you to put a 1 in the chat, right? If that's not you, I want you to put a 2 in the chat, right? If you got any of those things that I said, it's like, I don't have that, right? But if that's like, you might have to check, but Kyle, I got all of it. Put a 1, right? So I want to see who we're working with, right? So again, if that's you, you're literally sitting right on it, right? Now, if that's not you, so you know what to do if that's you. Like I said, book the call. It's a free consultation. You're going to walk away with value, walk away with information at the very least, and walk away with what exactly is my next step to be able to get lined up for this, for my situation, for my goals. Again, and this is the 0% interest that we're talking about, that we're leading up to, is very beneficial. It's very, cool, but it's not necessarily going to be the best thing for everybody, because you might be able to use that. And some people might say, okay, I got bigger goals. I need to get an SBA loan. I need to get a $3 million, loan, or I need $800,000 to take over this business. You know what I mean? So that I can, move forward and do different things. Like that's the beauty of it, is we can help with all this. Like I need a truck, or I need a vehicle finance or equipment financing. You know what I mean? To open my chiropractor business. Like we can help with all of that. I'm just telling you that this 0% credit stacking method is a very accessible thing for a lot of people, because all you have to do is follow the formula and put the formula in. Monet, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the gift, and joining the fan club. Let's go. Let's get it. All right. So Monet, so you said, I have student loans with late payments and 2 open accounts with late payments older than a year. Monet, are the late payments older than 2 years? That's what we want to know. Now, so let's talk about if I don't have all this stuff in place, right? So I just gave you the blueprint. Like I said, if you weren't writing it down, please write it down, right? Because it's so powerful. And I'm about to explain what you can do with it as well, even if you don't qualify for it right this second, right? So my suggestion is, if you don't qualify for it, if you don't have all that stuff, still book the call now so you can get things rolling and get started right now, right? Because I always say that the time is going to go by anyway, right? Tell me I'm lying that it seemed like 2 days ago and it was February of 2025, or it was January of 20, or we were at Thanksgiving, right, of 2024. This stuff goes by very, very quickly, right? So if you make the moves now and put yourself in place, you're going to be thanking yourself for saying, okay, I'm so glad that I started this, because now, even though my credit wasn't right, I didn't have everything in place, but now it's February of 2026, and now I'm ready to go. I got my plans in place, and now I got 120K that I can use, 150K, I got 80K that I can use towards this stuff, and I'm ready to launch. I'm so glad that I did that. I want you to be in that place, right? Now, a few things that you can do, even if you aren't ready, right? So Monday said, I want to qualify. So like I said, if you weren't here, let me know if you have questions and I will go back over it. But I just shared the exact profile that you need to have. Again, the credit score is cool. And some people will say, hey, don't use your FICO score, or don't use your Vantage score, or don't use Credit Karma. All of that is here or there when we're talking about business funding, because we need to know what's in the profile, right? Because like I said, there are people who have a 750 credit score, 780 credit score, that get denied. Why? Because the credit score is based on a mathematical formula that adds up between 300 and 850 based on the different categories. So those categories could be there, But if you only have like 2 credit cards, right, and they're $500 limit, but you've managed them very well, you can have a 700 credit score. You know what I mean? But you just don't have enough in your report, or you don't have enough age in your report to be able to move forward, right? So that's the thing that you need to know. So we're going to go through that now as far as, okay, well, what do I do, Kyle, if I don't have that? Now, one, like I said, get started today. Get the ball rolling, because a lot of our clients, even with credit issues and things on the report, are seeing results in 90 days, up to 90 days, sometimes less, sometimes more. There's never any guarantees in credit restoration because, again, like we said, the government just closed for 30 days. So a lot of things changed with that, and things were slowed up and things like that. So it's never a guarantee. However, most of our clients are seeing results in that time period. So move forward with that. Get yourself positioned, right? Get the ball rolling. Now, once you have that ball rolling, and while you're waiting, and again, the waiting period, like some of you say, Kyle, I don't have any credit cards, right? I got a blank slate. I've been using cash. My dad used cash. Like that's just what we do. I didn't know about this credit stuff. You know what I mean? That's okay. It might take, like I said, when you have these credit cards on your report, and once you get them, and ideally you get some credit cards that have high limits, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $5,000, you know what I mean, at the least. Once you have those, you need to have them on your report and season them for like a year, right? At least a year. That's the ideal. So it's like, man, Kyle, I got to wait a year to be able to do this, right? Yes. But here's what you can do in the meantime, right? Like I said, set yourself up. But in the meantime, here's some ways you could leverage this. Now, one, since you know this information, you can do what's called leveraging a credit partner to be able to fund the business. And then you do the business execution, and you have the skill and the will and the desire and the drive to be able to actually push things forward. But the funding can come from someone else. Now, how is that? Because if there's someone else that has those requirements that I just shared with you about the number of credit cards, the utilization, right, the inquiries, the number of accounts in the report, the average age, and the lack of negatives, if someone else has that and they're willing to be a business partner with you, they can get the funding either for their own LLC that they set up or one that they have, or they can go on your operating agreement and be, partnered with you directly. And the funding can be based on their credit profile. So now we've got 100K or 80K or 120 or 130 that's under them. And then they can either loan the funds over to your LLC to be able to do the business. And again, those funds are going to be largely at 0% interest, right? Or if they're in the operating agreement and you're just already tied in together, then you can use it directly like that. So both of those can work. So what does that mean? The same way that my client booked a call with the team and then 22 days later had 95K, that could be your credit partner. So even if your credit is messed up right now, or you say like, I just don't have enough credit, like, that could be you 22 days from now being able to make the moves if you think out of the box and start to leverage community and leverage other people, right? And say, I have this skill set, I have this desire, I have this information that I just got from Kyle, and you have the credit and you're literally sitting on it. Let's partner up. You know what I mean? You do this, I'll do this. We can split the money in a certain way so that you can benefit, I can benefit, and you can move forward like literally today. Right now, here's another thing. And Monet, so you said you just filled out the form, but it failed once you submitted it. So make sure you go to just double check. Okay, go to fundingmyfuture.net. You're going to see the website with Funding My Future. Make sure you're in that spot, and you're going to hit the button to fill out. It's going to ask you just a few questions, right? Ask you a few questions. So there might be another form, that's on the bio that might take you somewhere else. Just double check. If you want to just type it in fundingmyfuture.net, make sure you're in that spot, click it. Like I said, it's only going to take about 90 seconds maybe to fill out that information. And then you can, and it'll lead you to book a consultation call, and get the ball rolling. And like I said, they're going to either tell you there's going to be linked up with a funding advisor or a credit advisor. They're going to either tell you, hey, this is what you need to do with your credit and the exact next steps, or they're going to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do with your funding because you're ready to go, right? Like I said, either way, you should start today to get the ball rolling. Now, so we already talked about, I hope that was powerful for somebody to say, you know what? It doesn't even have to be me. Mr. Trendsetter, someone's talking my language. Thank God, right? I respect that. Let me know what you mean by that, or which part was resonating with you, right? Mr. Trendsetters, let me know. So right. So I hope that was freeing for some people, because to say, okay, Kyle, what you're saying sounds good. I don't have the credit, but you could literally start today if you link up with somebody. Again, you'd have to be able to say, I'm ready to execute. I'm ready to make the sacrifice. I'm ready to do the business. I'm ready to, move forward. You got to make sure that you're solid in yourself, so that if somebody trusts you to that degree, that you can execute. However, you can move on it now. Like, the funding is not necessarily an issue. You can access that now, right? Now, what's the other way you could do it? Another way you can leverage this positively for yourself is, if you know people that have this funding profile, and now you know more than a ton of people about the exact thing that you need to get it set up. If you know people that have that, you can be referring people, right, to get funded and get paid out on those referrals right now. Now, what does that look like? Right? I have a friend who is pregnant, like 9 months, like just ready to go pretty much, and not focused on much else. She has her own business and does other things. And she referred a client that fit the criteria. That client got funded, and I sent her a payment. Get ready for this: $2,252 PayPal. Right? I sent it straight to her. That's probably the easiest money that she's ever made, because she didn't have to do anything else. Right? None of the underwriting, none of the fulfillment, none of the anything else. She just literally submitted the name, and probably 30 days later, 25 days later, that's what I sent her. Easiest money ever. So, and the way that you do that more effectively is, again, once you know the blueprint of what I just told you, right? And if you can even ask somebody, like, okay, I think this person's in the ballpark, but like, how many cards do you have? You know what I mean? Like, what's your utilization? The utilization is the only thing holding you back. Now, Kyle told me a couple of tweaks and tricks that you can actually get around that. So you might be in the ballpark like 20 days from now. You know what I mean? Like, well, how many accounts do you have? What's your average age? You don't have any late payments. You don't have any charge offs, no bankruptcies. Boom, off to the races. Right. So again, you could be leveraging that information for yourself while you build up your own profile, while you do the work to push things forward for yourself. Again, so that's the biggest suggestion I can make. Right. So again, if you're watching this, thank you guys for tapping in. Please like this. And it's a very simple thing you can do. Just hit the like button, just keep on hitting it, so that the algorithm knows that this is important information, that you're getting value from it. Share this with somebody. And again, follow me. Make sure you go to fundingmyfuture.net and book a free consultation call, right? Set things up now. Some of you, shoot, by December, some of you could be sitting on this to be able to really go into the new year like in a strong position with your business, right? So let's keep it going. And again, thank you guys so much for the gifts and the, I appreciate this, and I appreciate this opportunity to be able to share this with you. Because like I said, I want people to be able to start ahead of me, like ahead of where I was, start faster, be able to build up and not have to go through all of the, the red tape and things like that. I just want you to have the info, right? Another thing that I have to share is something that I'm also passionate about is in the same line. I want to make sure that the next generation, young people, are equipped to be able to get faster into wealth building, into financial literacy, into business and entrepreneurship. These different things to be able to move their lives forward and to change the generational wealth landscape. So I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits. Anything that comes to me, a portion of it is going to a fund that's going to be helping young people to get into these arenas, right? In the form of grants, in the form of education and things like that. So if you're working with me directly, then just know that that's a part of it. And again, that's what I love most, is being able to create win-win-win-win situations across the board. All right, so let's keep going, right? So we talked about the personal credit profile, huge. All right, now let's talk about the business, the LLC or the entity structure, right? These are the things that you need. This is the two parts, the two pillars of this. One pillar is the personal credit that we just talked about. The other pillar is going to be your business entity structure. And what do we mean by structure? This is basically how this is set up so that it looks as good as possible to the banks, right? On paper. How is this set up? What things do you need so that it just looks juicy and they're ready to just give you money? If you have these things in place, this sets you up as good as possible. Now, again, if you're working with us, then we can help to set this up. Even if you don't have an LLC, we can work to set it up. If you do have an LLC, we can work to tweak it. But these are the things that you need to know. Like I said, this information I'm sharing with you tonight, like I said, I paid a lot of money. I paid a lot of money for this, and I want to share it with you tonight for free, just so you can be able to position yourself and move forward. Right? If you have this, you could stumble into, business funding if you wanted to. It might not be a lot, but you could go and work your way and do it. If you're after a certain amount, like you say, okay, I want to be able to stack a lot of this to be able to leverage, to use for different things, then I suggest you work with somebody. And like I said, I can only vouch for the people that I've worked with and the results that we've gotten for our clients, even recently, even as recently as last week, and this week, and just constantly working with people, right? So what is the LLC structure? Number one, please write this down. Number one is your business name matters, right? The business name needs to not indicate that it's something high risk. How do you know if it's high risk? Well, there's certain lists that each bank has its own list of businesses and industries that it does not gel well with, right? And interestingly, one of those is like real estate. Pretty often, if it's real estate related, if it's like trucking related, God forbid, like if it's like a gambling or there's certain things that some banks won't touch at all. Like we're just instant denial. Or if they do give you an approval, it's going to be very low, right? So you want to position your name, and a lot of people know about the NAICS code, NAICS, where I'm submitting my like industry category to the official business, database. Even if your NAICS code is a certain one, but your name indicates something else, a lot of times they're just going to judge you based on the name, right? So how do you make this generic? A quick example is keyword enterprises, or last name enterprises, keyword group, keyword solutions, as generic as possible. It doesn't have to be cute. I know I'm a creative person. So when I was starting, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to make this really creative, business name, and it's got a good meaning and all this different stuff. Doesn't have to be that, especially for when it comes to business funding. Generic and simple goes a long way, right? Now, if your NAICS code in your category, if you can in any way gear what you do in your mind towards something, towards consulting, something towards marketing, something towards education in some way, those are the things that are going to be the most attractive, or like the least friction when it comes to the banks, right? So if you can say, okay, even if I do one thing, is there any chance that I'm going to be doing some consulting or teaching other people about this, or doing some marketing, maybe helping with some marketing? If you can gear any way towards that, that's going to be a big benefit, right, for your approval possibility. Now, if you do certain types of business, sometimes you can, like if you're a painter or something like that, sometimes you can just put what you have and be able to go through and still get approvals and things like that, right? But like I said, I'm just sharing with you what is the one that has the least friction, if you can set it up and if you can be as generic as possible, right? So let's go next is your business address, right? Business address is super critical. Why is it critical? Because there's so many different angles you can take, and the banks change how they approve these things very often, right? Again, if you're just joining, make sure you go to fundingmyfuture.net and get a free consultation call, right? Free consultation call, fundingmyfuture.net, and they're going to walk you through what is your next step, right? And you're going to see if am I qualified for funding? Am I not? What do I need to put in? Just take out all the guesswork, right? But let's talk about this address, because a lot of people, if you've been following this at all, so there's a lot of different options where it's like, okay, maybe I can get a virtual address for my business, or do I have to have a physical address, or is there a problem using my home address? You know what I mean? Because some banks want that, or whatever the case. But let's break it down. All right. So a lot of banks are changing things because look at it from their perspective, is they don't like instability. They don't like, and imagine if you're giving money to somebody, the last thing you want is for them to be unstable, to make you think that you're not going to get this money back. Just think of it from their perspective. So the more things that boost this up to make this look like a secure thing, that's the better, right? So as far as the address, this is why they don't like PO boxes, because it's like anybody can get a PO box, right? And you can walk away from that like tomorrow, right? So, and this is like, a lot of times they're protecting themselves. It's like there might be money laundering or different things going on. They have to protect themselves and regulations. So this is why a lot of times PO boxes don't work, right? So a virtual address is kind of like a glorified PO box. However, sometimes There's these places where you can actually physically meet, physically run meetings, physically do business. You can technically rent an office space from some of these places. You know what I mean? So when it's like that, now it's like more legitimate, right? So there are certain addresses that you can choose from these virtual address companies that are legit offices, and they look that way on Google Street View. Now, this sounds like a silly thing, but the looks of it can impact your approval, right? Or can impact your funding because the underwriter might be looking at that address. So again, like I have a video on this where I've shared like on, if you go on iPostal One, which is a popular virtual address company, they have different options. If you look at the cheap options and you look up the address on Google Street View, I want you to try this once. A lot of times what's going to show up is a Staples or like a 7-Eleven. And it's clearly like your business, this is not your business. You don't own this Staples. You're not running business out of that, right? So again, that immediately puts you in a certain category, and that could just be a denial, or it could be even sometimes at the state level, they won't let you open an LLC with that address if it's like clearly a mailbox. So that's something you have to be mindful of. If you look at the expensive or more expensive options on iPostal One and you Google it and it lists it's a nice, beautiful office building, right? Now, the thing that you're going to check, please write this down. The thing that you're going to check is you need to look up on the USPS zip code lookup. Put that address in that website, and there's going to be a couple of line items that show up. One of those line items is going to say the word CMRA, or Commercial Mail Receiving Agency. If it says that, then that is a bad, if it says Y or yes on that, that's a bad thing, right? So you do not want that on your address, because now everybody knows that this is not your business. It's literally just a mailbox. You might as well have a PO box, and you're either going to get denied and things like that, right? If you have to use it. Now, let me give you the sauce. I'm going to sneak in and talk more quiet because this is paid sauce that I'm giving you right now. The people that are getting the most approvals and the highest funding, at least when we're talking about the 0% business credit stacking that we just talked about, where we're stacking these 10,000 here, 20,000 here, 30,000, 50,000 here, right? And we're stacking up to an amount. It's actually the home address that actually converts better when it comes to getting that sort of funding. Why is that? Because it's a very stable place. They know where you are. They know what's happening when it comes to the bank, right? So if you have a physical brick and mortar address for your business, then definitely use that, right? If you got a key, if you got a lease for somewhere, definitely use that, right? But a lot of times the home address can be more impactful. Now, what is the problem with that? A lot of people say, I don't want to use a home address for my LLC because the home address or the address on the LLC is like public information. You know what I mean? So you can look up the LLC and you see the address. Now, what can you do? Here's a little hack, is that people will set up multiple LLCs. So I have one LLC that's dedicated for funding, meaning that everything that needs to happen, I'm packaging it so it looks as good to the banks as possible, just on this LLC, including possibly using my home address for this entity, right? And now I have another entity that is designated strictly for business and my client-facing stuff. So now guess what? I have the freedom on this entity to be able to use whatever name that I want. I can use whatever address that I want and keep it private, do all the stuff that I want to do. And this is the client-facing one. And then I can talk to your CPA. This is not tax advice. This is not legal advice. Talk to your attorney, but you can have your LLC, your funding LLC, to send funds over to the client-facing LLC, right? And you can set it up that way, right? So again, that's something you can do to be able to just streamline it, so you don't have to take all the guesswork out, right? So again, banks are changing the way that they look at virtual addresses. I even had somebody that was looking at an Opus address, right, and looking to open their LLC with it, and they had issues even opening the LLC in Maryland using the Opus address. Now, I have a feeling that what tripped them up, and this is something that you need to know, again, please write this down. When you're using a business address, if you decide to get one of these virtual addresses, sometimes in the official name that they give you, like they'll send you the confirmation email, or you look at your account and your virtual address says 123 Main Street, Suite 300, PMB 1002, right? And that PMB that's your box number for that particular virtual address, right? If you put that same thing in your business filing, that's when I think it can cause more of a problem, right? Again, you're going to want to do the check that I said, where I'm looking at the USPS and I'm looking at, to see like exactly how this thing shows up. But if you put that in the business address for the official thing, that can cause a problem. So what can you do? Just leave the PMB part out. So if your address that you got is 123 Main Street, Suite 100, then just put that for your business. If the company that you're working with knows your business name and receives it at that address, even though they don't know the mailbox number because it's not on the mail, a lot of times, in my experience, the mail still gets to you because they know how to attach it to your account, and everything looks a lot more official on the business side. That was a nugget. That's a hack. So please write it down if you're going to do that. Again, our team can help you to make sure that things are set up properly. So if you go to fundingmyfuture.net, if you get the free consultation, you can get walked through that. But I just wanted to share it with you directly so that you know exactly what you need to be able to get set up. And this is what the banks are looking for, right? So let's keep going. So the business address, right? Super critical. Now, once you have the business address, now this information needs to be exactly the same across all of your information. Right now, what is this? This is across your EIN with the IRS. So the name of your business and the address of the business and the email and the other anything else needs to be exactly the same no matter where it shows up. Right? So EIN, your state articles, your bank account, when you sign up for a DUNS number, right, to make it official on that side. Again, with the DUNS, we'll talk about this soon. For this strategy, you do not have to have a Paydex score reporting. It does help if you have it, but you do not have to have it in order to access the 100K, 80K, 150K, and all the stacks and all the different stuff that I'm talking about, right? But it does help to at least have it listed on there, but you don't have to have that Paydex score. So some people talk about, and it's important to know what we're talking about when we say business credit, because some people say business credit, and this is the credit where it's like, okay, I'm pursuing this like no PG funding, right? Where it's just my EIN, my social security is not involved. Okay, I'm building this thing up. And a lot of times what you have to do is you have to buy these different things from different companies for these net 30 accounts. I'm buying these toilet paper from Uline. I'm getting something from Quill, getting something from Granger. And then these things report on my business credit. And now I'm able to step up to the next tier and get a Shell card and able to get these different cards. And then now maybe next I'll get a Best Buy card. And then maybe in the future then you might get access to like a cash card, like a traditional credit card that's only on your EIN, but the limit is probably going to be much lower than what you're going to get going this other route, right? So some of you might be familiar with that. So it's important to know, what are we talking about and what are we not talking about? That part is cool. That's something you can do. Some people are like super adamant about that, but I'm saying at the amount of access that you can get, the results that you can get when you set this up properly and you're leveraging your personal guarantee, right, to be able to get the most possible funding from the business cards, then it can be very, very useful and very impactful and very quick technically, right? Because like I said, some of you watching are literally sitting on it. And like right now, you could be like my last client, you could be 22 days away from having that funding, right? It could be 30 days. It could be 10 days. It could be 45 days. And if you need to make a move or two or a move or three, or even if you need to fix all of your credit, now that could be 90 days. It could be 120 days. It could be 6 months, whatever the case, but you need to get started, right? So that matching business information. Now, why is this important? Again, if you're watching this, make sure you hit the like button. Please hit it. That's a simple way that you can just kind of support this and let other people know, let the algorithm know that this is good information, right? Share this with somebody that needs to hear it, right? And please take notes on this. Like I said, I've paid money for this. I want you to have it now on the free, right? So, what does it mean to do the matching, right? And thanks again for the badges, you guys, and the gifts. I appreciate it. So, what does this mean, matching, and why is this important? Is because when it's unmatched, then the computers can get confused. Let me tell a quick story. I did jury duty a couple weeks ago, state of Maryland. And when I was there, they told us you can get multiple jury summons sent to you if on your credit report or in your file, maybe you got remarried and you got multiple names on your credit report, or maybe you moved around a lot and you got multiple addresses. So sometimes for a different name and a different address, they will send multiple jury notices because the computer thinks you are more than one person. And this is the same thing that happens on the business credit side, where they're looking at the business and what's listed up there. And if there's a slight difference in the address or a slight difference in the name on one and on the other, now it has to think harder to know, okay, which business is this? Two different businesses? Which one are we funding? And when the computer gets confused, everybody that's in sales knows a confused mind says what? A confused mind always says no, right? So the computer starts giving out denials. It might push you into another bucket where you have to now submit documents and do all these different things. Now, did I mention that all of this, when we're talking about the 0% funding and all this stuff, a lot of these are no doc programs. What does that mean? You're not having to submit tax returns. You're not having to submit bank statements, personal financial statement, a business plan. You don't have to submit any of that, right? And this is why you're able to do it, even if you have a new business, even if you open the LLC tonight, because we're leveraging this profile structure that we talked about, the personal credit profile, and we talked about the business structure. When you have those two things and you're able to move forward, so it's not based on any of that. Super, super powerful, right? So some of you might be thinking, like, again, please put your questions in the chat. If you're joining in, like I said, tap into the free information, you guys. You got to take advantage of it. If you have a question, you feel like something's holding you back, something you need to clear up, please ask your question so I can answer it now, right? But you don't want to get into a situation where you're having to make unnecessary, delays in your process because your business information was slightly different. And this is like to the T. So like if your business address has Suite 100, and Suite is spelled SUITE, and then on another form you have STE, you got to make sure those are both the same, because again, you're running the risk that they look different. It looks like two different things, right? Down to the T. I can't stress it enough. You'll just make things a lot easier for yourself if everything is tight like that. Now, next, what else can you do to make this look solid and sweet on paper? Is a business phone number, a solid business phone number, a dedicated line, right? Not just your cell phone as the one that you submit for business. Now you can squeeze by with a Google Voice number. You can squeeze by. Ideally, you have something dedicated, Grasshopper. You can use Call 8. There's these different companies you can use to get a dedicated business number, and just keep it like that. Depending on your use case and what you need, you can decide what's good for your purposes. But ideally, you have something dedicated. Now, next, a business website and a domain-based email address. Right? The business website does not have to be anything crazy. All you need is a landing page that looks clean, that has your business name, that has your business logo, right? And it has some stock images that make it look professional. That's got your business address on there. It's got your, like your mission or something like that. Again, we want to keep it generic as possible. Doesn't need to be complicated. It just need to look good. It just needs to be there, right? A simple domain. You can go on Fiverr.com and have somebody create you a domain landing page, right? You purchase a domain, you get a landing page created for $20, $15, and they'll do it tonight. You know what I mean? You'll have it tomorrow. It's a very real thing. You can go to like GoDaddy, and GoDaddy has an AI site builder. So when you buy the domain, you go on and you describe what you want, it can put together a website for you, a landing page. Doesn't have to need to have multiple steps and all these different things. Something simple. Again, some people even have dedicated, we talked about the funding LLC. Some people have dedicated websites just for the thing that they're going to present to the bank, just so it's as clean and frictionless as possible. And then I have another site that's for my client facing. So I can put whatever language I want to on there. I can put whatever name I want, all this different stuff. And you can keep that separate. And this is a smart way to do it if you want to maximize your approvals on the business side, right? So that domain, and now once you have a domain on the site, you also need a domain-based email address. Again, this communicates stability, communicates we're going to be around for a while. If I can't pay $6 a month for a Google Workspace and a domain-based email address, then what are we doing? Like the bank is like, okay, this could close tomorrow. So this is going to reduce our likelihood to want to give a bunch of money to it. All right. So I need a .com or .io or whatever your domain is that you've chosen. Make that your email and make that your official email. Right, set it up. Google Workspace is solid to be able to do for that. Right. Next, now once you have those things, you're pretty much solid. So some of this is going to be the obvious, but do I have an EIN from the IRS? And again, it's good to set up the address first. Choose your address and make sure your name is solid. Make sure your name is available first. Get all that stuff first, even before you do all the LLC stuff. Because once you have that, now the information can be the same from the beginning. That'll save you a ton of time, right? So I have my EIN, business name and address, exactly the same, right? I have my state articles, my operating agreement, all that stuff is solid, right? I can go to Dun and Bradstreet and get a Dunn's number, put my information for the business, all that solid. You don't need to pay for anything else with Dun and Bradstreet. They might offer you some other stuff. You don't have to worry about that. It just helps to just have at least that thing started on there and your business shows up there. Like I said, Paydex score, you can build that. You can do it later. Now, let's talk about Paydex and business credit scores. Just a little side point, right? Before we get to the last point. A lot of people, like we said, we talk about building business credit so that my business can kind of stand on its own. I can get qualified for things without my, personal credit being involved in any way. And again, for these business credit cards, the only way that it actually comes back to your personal credit, you get the hard inquiry that I said we can remove the hard inquiries from your personal report. The business accounts don't show up on your personal credit, so it's not affecting your utilization. It's not affecting, really anything else. You can maintain, like I said, the last time I checked my credit, it was literally 850, my personal credit. And I've got balances. Some balances are pretty high on the business side because I've been doing different things and different investments. Some things go right, some things go wrong. And there's balances on these sides. And guess what? It's not impacting my personal credit like at all. So everything is intact on there, right? So, again, so you set all this stuff up. And here's the last thing is your business presence online. Your online presence needs to be solid. And what does that mean? If somebody Googles your business, does it show up online? Very simple and basic, right? Does it show up and how does it show up? And you can go to Google My Business and literally submit your information so that it does show up in Google searches, shows up in Google Maps, whatever you want to do. And the more that you have there, it just adds to that credibility. So you have your website and you have that. You can also submit your information to Bing, Bing.com. I put my business information. Now it'll show up in Bing. I can do that on Yelp, right? I can submit the information. Another one is the 411 listing. So here's something you can write down is you're going to go to listyourself.net, listyourself.net, and you're going to fill out that information and put your business information in there. You can either do the free one, at least the last time I checked, the free one that is a local listing, or you can do the paid one that is a national listing. The national is going to be more impactful, but you can get by with the local, right? And now you have a solid presence online so that if somebody looks it up, if you have friends or colleagues or something that can add reviews to your Yelp or reviews to your Google, then that's only going to help, right? So the more of that type of stuff you can do, the better position that you are, right? But if you're still here watching, I just laid out the exact thing that you need on both sides, both of those pillars, my personal credit structure and my business entity structure, both of those pillars. Like, what do I need to be able to set this up? Or like we talked about, if you're being smart about this and you say, okay, Kyle, I'm going to take action on this now. I'm going to move myself forward. Even if it feels like I'm not near this because my credit is not in place, whatever, I'm going to take action on it, right? But I also can leverage this in multiple ways because now I can get other people, either I can get a credit partner to join in with me and they have this credit structure. And now that Kyle has taught me this information, and now I know exactly what a person needs, and we can go pretty much together and get access to 100K, to 150K, 120, 200K, depending on how far you want to take it, 500K. If you leverage a strategy like myself and my wife, where we were doing 2 different guarantees and we've got multiple entities that we're doing it on, right? It's like the sky's kind of the limit with that. But you can leverage that now, right? And the other way you can leverage it is, again, once you know this blueprint, you can say, okay, I can refer people that have this, all right? And I can get paid out $2,000 to $5,000, per client. And if I do that once a month, that's a game changer and a life changer. We're talking about a $50,000 year or $80,000 year just from literally passing somebody and not doing any more work, right? So again, that's the power of this. I want you to put your questions in the chat if you're just joining. If you haven't done so already, please take advantage of the free consultation call, right? Fundingmyfuture.net. Hit the little button, fill out the little form, and then book a consult. Free consult. You're going to walk away with value. You're going to walk away with information. You're going to walk away with next steps. Either the next step is for your credit or the next step is for funding, right? Please do that. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, but I'm going to just step through this one more time in case somebody came in late. I'm going to step through this one more time before we wrap up, right? What do you need on your personal credit side? This is 2 pillars. Number 1 is my personal credit profile. The profile needs to be in a certain place. And usually when that profile is in a certain place, my credit score reflects that as well. And that's going to be above a 680 or above 700. But we don't go based on the credit score. We go based on the profile, right? So what was that in the profile? If you missed it the first time, just get a pin out. You don't need to do what you need to do, right? I need at least 2 credit cards that are a year or older that have $3,000 limit at the minimum. Ideally, I've got 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 on at least a couple of cards. My utilization is below 30% at bare minimum. Ideally, it's below 10%, between 3 to 10% utilization. That's across all my cards as well as each individual card. My inquiries are at 0, or I've got maybe 2 to 3, right, per bureau at the max. And I'm double checking to see, are the inquiries older than 6 months? If they're older than 6 months, I can breathe a little easier. If they're newer than 6 months and they're very recent, then now that's an issue. I might have to wait, or I might have to deal with them or remove them or do something, depending on if it's an open account or not. I need to have next at least 7 to 10 primary accounts reporting on my credit file. Again, if you don't have this stuff, we can work with you to build it up for the first time. All right. It might take some time. Like I said, you can leverage those other avenues to take advantage of this while you wait. Next is your average age of credit. Ideally is above 4 years or more, right? 2 years or more, you can still get in the door. Ideally above 4. And then the rest is, I have no negatives, no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, and no bankruptcy. If you have that, even if you don't have an LLC, you're literally sitting on money that you could be using to fast track your business, to fast track things. Now, and again, how can you use this? Use it in real estate, right? To be able to acquire a property, to use it for the down payment. You can liquidate these funds off of these cards in a way that does not show up as like a cash advance, where you're not paying the extra fees and the extra interest rate and all that stuff. You can liquidate money off of those cards and be able to use that again for repair costs, for acquisition, for all this different stuff, holding costs in real estate. Same thing. If you're in trucking, you're doing drop shipping. If you have a business and you're selling products on eBay and you need to be able to purchase more, you know what I mean? There's so many different things that you can do to be able to leverage this positively. But again, I can't stress enough, you have to be confident in yourself to say, either I have the tools or I know the mentor that I'm going to target, and I know that I'm not like blocking myself with some self-limiting beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, and that's stuff that you have to answer for yourself. And you might need to go through some personal development to know, okay, am I ready to execute on this? You know what I mean? If I did pay $15,000 or $25,000 to access a top level mentor, and they give me the exact blueprint, they say, you got to do this, 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 and this. I'll give you the context. You got to call this person. You got to do this. Are you willing to do that? Right? Because that's going to make the difference. Is how can I, and if you're that type of person and you're ready to commit to that, this is a game changer. Because now it's like, I don't have to have the funds. I don't have to save up. A lot of people don't even get into business and entrepreneurship and real estate and different things like that. Because like, I got to save up for my first property. I got to save up $50,000 or $20,000. And how long does that take? It takes a while. Again, I respect the discipline that it takes, and I support the discipline that it takes to get that amount of money saved up, right? Like if you got to scrimp and budget and things like that, like that's important for business period, to just know where your dollars are going, like all that stuff, critical, right? But You don't have to stick in that place. Like, you need the principles, but as far as having the actual tangible result, how long is it going to take you to save up 100K to be able to use? Again, at 0% interest, a lot of times when we're starting this off. So it's a good foot to start on if you have the drive to be able to say, okay, I know what I'm about to do. Game changer. All right. So again, before I finish up, thank you guys so much for tapping in. Thanks for the gifts. I hope this was valuable information for you. Please hit the like button, smash it so that people know that this is good information that's being shared. But if you have a question before we jump off, put your question in the chat. Right. I'll be glad to answer it. If there's anything else that's unclear, that's like, okay, well, what about this, Kyle? Like, this can't be right. I can't be possibly qualified for this, or I can't possibly be 20 days away from this, you're telling me, or 90 days away. Like, let me know your question, right, before we jump off. But I'll wrap up now with this is you have to know your why you're doing this, right? And you have to be comfortable with saying, like, what do I actually want? A lot of times people are settling for something that they think that they can get when what they actually want, they're almost like scared to say it because it feels too far away. Now, why is it not too far away? Because again, the biggest shortcut that I can tell you is that if you are leveraging a high quality mentor, right? And whether you have to get next to that person just by sowing some goodwill, or, sometimes you can do these things like without paying. But a lot of times, the way that you get access is to pay. And if I now have access to pay the person that could give me the blueprint to shorten the timeline, give me the blueprint so that I can decrease the failure rate, right? And increase success. That is a hack, because the best way to do something is to learn from somebody that has already done it and to work with somebody that knows the exact steps, and you can just execute those steps, right? It's a totally different thing when you're starting from scratch, when it's YouTube University and you got to figure this out from here and this out from here, and maybe you're working and you got kids like I do, and you're hoping they don't wake up in the middle of the night while you're trying to work on your business and all this different stuff. But having access to these funds can be a game changer when you do it the right way. Now, who this is not for, this is not if you're just trying to get this only like to pay off debt. Like I said, you can do it. But if you don't have any plan to be able to use this to make new money, this is not for you, right? If you want to just get into like super hyper passive, like real estate, and say, hey, I just want to be able to put money into a real estate investment trust, a multifamily thing, and I'm going to get 8% return over the next 30 years. You don't want to use it for that, right? Because you want to be doing something that's active, something that can bring a solid return, ideally within that 0% period. Because you got 12 months, 18 months, 9 months, depending, right? So you want to be able to execute on something. And whatever you do, you want to have an exit strategy. And we can talk more. I'll be glad to go live and do some more sessions about, okay, well, how can I leverage this in real estate in particular? There's certain strategies that work well with it. You know what I mean? Like Airbnb, you can do very well. If you're doing flips, you can do very well. If you're doing the Burr method, you can do very well, because now I can use business credit for like the whole renovation. And then maybe I've got a refinance period where I'm getting my money back. You know what I mean? All these different strategies. Again, if you have a business and maybe putting this business credit into ads, right? And I'll just say real quick that Alex Hormozy, many people might be familiar with him, a successful businessman in our age. He wrote a book, and in his book, he's talking about how his business was pretty much on the brink of extinction, no money left, having to looking like he's going to close his doors. But he had a plan for how to do something, but he just didn't have enough people that knew about it. And he was able to put money into ads in order to basically save his business. Now, how much money did he put into the ads? $3,300 a day, right? That might sound like a lot to some people. It is technically a lot. Where did he get that from if he didn't have any money? Well, he had a business credit card, right, that he was able to leverage to do that. And within that first 30 days, as he was spending the $3,300 a day on that business credit card, the income and the sales started to come back, and it started to pay for itself. And he was able to dig out of that and then like skyrocket things from there, just from that. So ads in itself is a very powerful thing to say, okay, well, now I have access to these funds that I don't have to be using my personal savings, or, and you can keep that intact, right? Where your personal credit and your personal savings is there. And a lot of times you can qualify for things even if you don't have to pay for it, but you just have it in your account. That looks very, very attractive to banks. So if you're doing business and things like that, this is another benefit of doing things on that business credit side, because it separates it, right? But it gives you that access, again, doing ads, getting help like virtual assistants, right? You can get somebody to work for you for 40 hours a week for like $1,000 a month, right? For $800 a month. So if you have a business plan, you know what I mean? Again, you don't have to have a business plan to get the funding, but it helps to have at least a plan of how am I going to make the money? What expenses am I going to have? Like, what am I doing? But in your business plan, if I say, okay, if I do this for 6 months, I'm going to have an assistant work for me for 40 hours a week. That's a highly trained specialist in this particular area. That's going to be key for my business. Or maybe they're just helping me free up time so that I can do it 40 hours a week. And it's going to be $1,000 a month. So for 6 months, that means I have $6,000. When I put $6,000 to the side, guess what? Now I can have that person working for me 40 hours a week for 6 months. So as a part of my 100K that I just got, as a part of my 120K that I just got, I just need to designate 6,000 of those dollars, and then I can set that aside and be ready to just move forward with. Now, how much more can you get done with having somebody that's skilled, that's working for you for 40 hours a week? That's something you can do, right? And that opens things up. It changes the game. So again, when it's applied properly, we haven't talked about AI and the different platforms you can use. And again, this is where mentorship comes in as well. Like, you have the ability to be able to pay for the things that are going to scale and skyrocket what you're doing. That's going to make the most sense. So all I want you to know is, again, this is a formula. Once you have the formula and you are equipped to move forward, right, you can use this stuff to scale and improve what you're doing, right? Plain and simple. So again, much love to everybody. If I don't see any more questions, if there's one that sneaks in, thank you guys so much for tapping in. Please share this with somebody. And I hope that you are encouraged and inspired. Again, here on a Sunday evening, I appreciate those of you who are tapped in, because I know that you are wanting to move your life forward. Like I said, those are the type of people that I want to be around, that are pushing forward, and ideally that also care about other people being able to elevate too. And I'll say one more time is that I have been convicted and inspired to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits towards a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to be able to get into the game, to get into real estate, get into financial literacy, get into wealth building, and to be able to be on a solid footing a lot earlier than I was, a lot earlier than a lot of us were, so that the generational wealth landscape can change and everybody can be doing better, outside of anything that goes on, in the economy and government and things like that. But that we can be self-sustaining and push things forward in a significant way. So again, I'll be doing more on this, going live more. And so please be on the lookout, but follow me, DM me if you need to. Again, go to fundingmyfuture.net. Make sure you book that consultation call if you haven't already. If you have, and you've gotten things, things are rolling in that direction, things are getting together. Now it's time to just work on, okay, what am I about to do with this funds when I get it? What am I going to do to leverage this? Who do I need to refer if I want to make some extra money? What are some things that I can do to maximize my effort and my impact? Right. So much love, you guys. I will see you guys next time around. Peace.